Welcome to the Well Woman Show, where we interview women executives, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
And you're listening to the Well Woman Show,
where motivated women achieve fulfillment and well-being.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
Take time for myself by coming to things like Well Woman Drinks.
To be accepting of myself no matter what. Step away from judgment as much as possible.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
You're going to be in for a good ride. I don't regret anything. Everything I've ever done, I've learned from it, one way or another, good or bad.
Being a little bit selfish for yourself, put your own oxygen mask on first and then give what's left.
I'm a woman. I would prefer to tell my own story. My story, though it's very personal, is universal.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show. And now your host, Giovanna Rossi.
Hi, Giovanna Rossi here, and welcome to another episode of The Well Woman Show, where I interview women leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs about their lives and their road to becoming and being who they are today. Are you at the top of your game professionally, but feeling burned out, or finding it hard to focus on your goals, or unfulfilled personally? Or are you in transition, simply juggling so many things you find it hard to take care of your own needs? Well, you're not alone. We all need to activate the 4 universal superpowers. These are the internal strengths and abilities we all already have, but don't use all the time. Superpowers can be cultivated, and they include awareness, intuition, action, and acceptance. Toward the end of the show, in a segment called Superpowers for Success, I ask my guest about her superpowers, and the answers will give you the strength, perspective, and power to live a well woman life. I'm so happy you're here, so thanks for tuning in. This episode of the Well Woman Show is brought to you by Collective Action Strategies, supporting organizations that support women and families, and by Well Woman Life Movement Challenge Quiz, your resource for living your best life. If you're in burnout or major transition, this is your time to figure out what's holding you back from making the changes you need to make in order to live your fullest, most joyful life. The cause of all of our challenges, personal or professional, can actually be rooted in the lack of internal superpowers and or external supports. Our Well Woman Life framework tells you which stage of the Well Woman life cycle you're in and what to do about it so you can truly live your best life. You can find out more at wellwomanlife.com/quiz. I'm so thankful for support from Natural Awakenings magazine in New Mexico, a monthly green, healthy lifestyle publication, and for support from High Desert Yoga, promoting optimum physical health, clarity of mind, and spiritual inspiration for all. Today's topic is public service as an indicator of success, and hopefully by the end of the show, you'll learn about women running for office, advocacy, and public service as qualifications for legislating, women's representation in government, and women's candidacy and training resources. So if you've ever thought about running for office, or if you've heard about the recent wins in the primary elections around the country, and you're curious, this is a great episode to really start thinking about public service as a goal and as a successful milestone in your life. My guest today is Kristin Seale, a lifelong public servant who currently serves on the leadership team of a statewide energy nonprofit that's helped Pennsylvanians of every electric ratepayer class conserve energy and save money through energy efficiency. She has a long track record of protecting and supporting communities in public health, poverty law, and energy by advocating for and successfully moving bipartisan legislation in 2 state legislatures through community-led and coalition-based collaboration with elected decision makers. She is a founder of 2 successful nonprofit women's sports organizations, one local and one international in scope. Kristin earned a Bachelor of Public and Community Health at the University of New Mexico and a Master's of Public Administration. And in 2017, she won a historic number of votes to flip a seat never held by a Democrat in a Republican stronghold district. And she currently is running for state representative in the 168th House District in Pennsylvania. She is an awesome woman. She actually was a student of mine when I was teaching women's health policy at the University of New Mexico. And she is on a mission. And this is a great conversation to give you sort of the inside scoop into how a woman decides to run, what it's like to run, and what it can add to your life and your community. So what you'll learn on this episode is what it's really like to run for office, the unique challenges women face when running, and how to overcome them and win. You can find more information and links, as well as this week's giveaway at wellwomanlife.com/123show. You can also continue the conversation in the Well Woman Life community group at wellwomanlife.com/Facebook. And I don't know if you can hear the train in the background. I'm actually in New York City right now at a friend of mine's apartment, right by the Williamsburg Bridge on the Lower East Side. And I'm about to take the kids to their first Broadway show. So super exciting. I'm glad I was able to get this recording in, slip it in here. And it's really hot in New York right now, by the way. It's like in the high 90s, which is a major heat wave for New York City. So I hope you enjoy the show. Definitely save the date, September 9th and 10th, for our Well Woman Superpower Retreat on the 9th and the Women's Leadership Summit that we're co-presenting with the Business First newspaper in Albuquerque Business First. And visit wellwomanlife.com/events for more information about all these things. And now to my interview with Kristin Seale. I'm speaking with Kristin Seale today. Welcome to the program, Kristin.
Thanks for having me, Giovanna.
Oh, this is so fun because we actually go way back to, several years ago. I don't know, maybe close to 8 years ago. I don't know. When you were, when you were in college, at the University of New Mexico, I was teaching a course and you were in my class.
Yeah. And I would say that one of the 3 highlights of my entire career as a student at UNM was your women's health policy course.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That's so nice to hear. It was a fun course. Yeah, we had tons of fun in that class, actually. We talked about all kinds of things that you're now actually putting into action. I'm so excited. So let's talk about that. In the introduction, I mentioned some of your background and your bio, but let's really dig into sort of, I feel like history is in the making. Like right now, we're going to be reading about this later, about how this moment in time was so crucial and critical for women, for people, for the United States, and for the world. And, you're part of it as someone who's running for office, and every woman who is voting and volunteering and being a part of any campaign for these women is part of this movement and this history. And it's just a super exciting time.
It really is. It doesn't stop inspiring me ever. And I got started by deciding in 2016, because I was living in the Philadelphia suburbs, that I would throw my hat in the ring and run to be a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, which was being held in Philadelphia that year. It just felt to me like it was going to be one of the most interesting election cycles of my lifetime. And I really wanted to be there up close and see if there's a way that I could participate and contribute. And from there, I got so excited and so inspired by all of the people that I met in caucus meetings at the DNC that I decided to engage my local Democratic Party, and I decided I wanted to run for something. And I was really fortunate that it was about to be a municipal election cycle when there was some seats opening up on a school board that desperately needed some change. And I applied to Emerge Pennsylvania, which is a national candidate training program that's in 25 states now, I think.
Yeah, we have one here in New Mexico. I was on the founding board of it.
That is fantastic. It is such a huge critical resource to women that are running. So I was really fortunate to get into an Emerge program for 2017. So while I was running for a school board seat, I had this incredible network of women and really strong training to become a strong candidate. And I won that race, but during the course of running, was asked to consider running for a state representative seat this year. And I think that the party leadership that asked me thought that I would quit my school board race. And I did not, because you can do both. So I hold a seat on the school board now. I'm an elected, and I'm really, really enjoying that service. And I've got a really fantastic network through Emerge and through other progressive organizations of women across the state and women across the country that I'm running with, and we support each other and encourage each other. And we're really well networked with a strong group of elected women that are helping us achieve our goals and just really supporting us all the way through. So it definitely feels like not just a moment, but a movement. We are an army of women across the country that are working together to do this.
Yeah. And I just want to mention for listeners, there's some background noise and it's fine. I just want everyone to know that it is because Kristin is, multitasking, busy in your busy life. What are you doing? Like, where are you right now?
So I'm in the University of Pennsylvania bookstore getting ready to have a meeting with the Electoral Committee of the Democratic Socialists of America, Philadelphia. They were critical support and my first endorsement in this state rep campaign. And their Medicare for All canvass positioned them to be really good political canvassers. So this year, for the first time, they endorsed two candidates and did electoral canvass predicated on a Medicare for All message that myself and another woman who was running in Philadelphia, Elizabeth Fiedler, both strongly supported. And she is in South Philadelphia in the city. I am in a completely different area in the Philadelphia suburbs that is relatively white collar. And though the neighborhoods couldn't be more different, that Medicare for All message played at the doors everywhere we canvassed in a way that we couldn't believe. People are so receptive to this message, so ready for this message. And in every community we've been in, people are interested in talking about healthcare as a human right. So I'm really excited after we have this exciting conversation to make some more plans and strategize with this incredible team of volunteers that helped me win my primary.
Okay, awesome. All right. So if we hear things in the background, it's just people talking in the bookstore where you are. And is there someone singing too? Is there?
I think it's actually the piped in music. And
oh, okay.
Oddly enough, when we started, they were playing Cyndi Lauper's "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
Oh, that's appropriate. Yeah. Okay. So Kristin, tell me, what are, like, in terms of your message as a woman and as a candidate, what do you think is, most important for you to get across as a candidate and for other women running both, before the interview started, you and I were just briefly talking about in New Mexico, we just had a primary election and there were several primaries all across the country. And we just nominated Deborah Holland to be the first Native American woman to win Congress if she wins in November. How important is that for this whole, this bigger picture and for your work and like the messaging around what we're talking about?
Sure. So the strongest part of my message and what inspired me to run in the first place is that representation matters. And so what inspired me to run at the Democratic National Convention was sitting in LGBTQ caucus and Native caucus and being fortunate enough to be able to hear legendary civil rights activists and mentors speaking about their experiences. And the message was the same in every caucus and every event that I was able to attend where I was getting to hear my heroes speak, everyone was talking about what it was like to be the first person at the table, and then how hard they had to work to increase seats at the table for their community, and how much we were at risk of losing some of those seats, and that there just weren't even enough voices at the table yet. And so whether we're talking about people of color or queer people or women, we're talking about a moment where we are sorely underrepresented, no matter what part of identity politics you come from. And the folks that are in power, the very few people that represent us, are struggling against majorities in a lot of places in this country that makes it nearly impossible for them to legislate and serve their communities as a whole, much less people like them. And so I think a lot of the difficulties that many Americans are facing day to day have a lot to do with the lack of representation. I am currently running in a state where only 18% of elected officials in our state are elected women. And the legislative body that I hope to take a seat in next year, we have 19% elected women. We've never sent a woman to the U.S. Senate. We've never had a woman governor. There's a real problem here. In my district, we're 52% women. So we just passed several weeks ago in our state legislature one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. And that's what this means to me. When I don't love the old trope, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I think that we are under attack. And I feel like the most critical path thing we can do right now is make sure that we elect more people to every level of government that are not wealthy, middle-aged, and older white men.
Hmm. And now you're running, I saw in your information, you're running as the first openly LGBTQ candidate in your district. Is that correct?
That's right. So when I win this seat, I will be the first woman to ever hold the seat, the first Democrat to ever hold the seat. I would also be the first out queer woman to ever be elected to this legislature. So right now we have one out gay elected official, one representative from Philadelphia, a man named Representative Brian Sims, who sits in the House in our state legislature in the General Assembly. There are LGBTQ electeds all over our state in various levels of municipal office and judgeships, but we have one lone person that's out in the state legislature. And so there are several of us that are running for seats in the House this year. And we're very, very much hoping to have an actual LGBTQ caucus next year that's made up of more than one man standing alone.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Yeah. Because it's so hard to be the first or the second or even the third, but then when you get 2 or 3 or 4, then you can start, doing something like you said, like having a caucus. So I want to ask you, Kristin, about your experience running for the National Convention as a delegate.
Sure.
I know you were a Bernie Sanders supporter.
That's right.
And obviously that did not work out. But when it came to the general election, I don't know how active you were, in supporting the Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton.
I did.
Okay. But let's just talk about her candidacy for a minute as a woman running at this historical time, in our country. Do you think that, I've been having a lot of conversations lately with different people who have varying opinions on like how it could have gone for her and whether she actually could have done anything differently, or if she just really had to do what she did and be kind of the first woman to go through that and then, get that out of the way. And now we can move on and maybe elect a woman to president. Where do you stand on all of that?
So I would say that there wasn't someone that paved that path for Barack Obama. And Barack Obama didn't have, and with all due respect, because really that is like my favorite first family of all time, the most wonderful, wonderful first family ever. I miss them dearly. His resume was nowhere near as lengthy as hers. Let's be real. She was overqualified for the position, but I think it very much matters who it is and when it is. I am not sure that she was the right woman at the right time. And I think that a lot of really horrible gendered misogynist things happened to her along the way. I think that it definitely shed some light on a lot of the work that there is to do culturally and politically in this country. But I am uncertain that she's paving a path for anyone. I think that sometimes there is a right person and a right moment. Given the current temperature of politics in the country, I remain unsure that there's a path for her forward in that office.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's planning to run again. I would be very surprised about that. But I think, what we have to look toward is who will be the first woman to be president and when will that happen?
And I think it could happen soon if it's the right woman at the right time. And I'm not being sort of vague or mysterious about that. I don't have any one particular person in mind. I think too that I'm a lot more interested in bottom-up party building, which I'm seeing firsthand as something that's been really effective in affecting change in people's lives on a local level. So I think that where we really need to be looking to right now is funneling as many women and people of color and LGBTQ candidates and folks of different ethnicities and backgrounds into the mouth of the pipeline at the municipal level, making sure that there's room for us at the bottom and that we're all lifting each other up into higher and higher positions in government. We cannot, as women or people of color or LGBTQ people or Indigenous people, become leadership in political bodies or in government without us building a foundation at the bottom like the Republicans have done since the 1980s. And so I think I am at this point exhausted of folks speculating about, will it be Elizabeth Warren? Will it be Nina Turner? Will it be? Could it be Tammy Duckworth? Could it be, I think that we all really need to focus our attention on our own backyards and make sure that the next Barack Obama is being elected mayor in our town, and that, the next Tammy Duckworth or the next Nina Turner are getting elected to state legislature or even running for Congress. Deborah Haaland didn't come from nowhere. She was serving her state committee first.
Yeah.
And I think that you're seeing a beautiful progression in New Mexico of some really powerful women that are ready to serve their community and really represent some underrepresented voices at the tables of power, rising up through the ranks in New Mexico in a way that is just not happening other places. And I think that it has very much to do with the fact that there's less money in politics in your state.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's less money in politics in New Mexico, but relatively speaking, there's a lot of money in politics here. So while there's less than other states, there's still a lot for the amount of money that's being spent here.
I feel sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the same story everywhere, but there are people in other places that are trying to dissect, like, how did New Mexico get this together so well?
Yeah.
Whereas my neighbor, New Jersey, if you look at the poll results from last night, there were almost no women running at any level of office in the New Jersey primary. And of those that were, I think only 2 made it through the primary.
Yeah. Okay, let me just wrap up this questioning, this line of thought that I had about the presidential campaign and Hillary Clinton and women running for office. I interviewed recently her communications director on the campaign, and who also served under President Obama and President Bill Clinton in a communications capacity. And she just wrote a book and stuff about her thoughts now about women in leadership. And one of the things she points out, which I think is not new in the feminist conversation is that women really need to bring themselves to leadership and not leave who they are at the door, which is what we have been seeing sometimes from women candidates. How do you feel about that?
I think that you're absolutely right. I've been through a number of candidate trainings in the last few years, and one of the statistics that most of them share when it's a group of women candidates is how many times women need to be asked before they say yes to running for office. Mm-hmm. And I have a number of friends who are women that we've been running together in races for the last 2 years that are really tired of hearing it because a lot of us weren't invited. We invited ourselves to this.
Right.
We weren't the traditional people that anyone from the party would reach out to and ask to run locally. And so I think that one of the things that we try to talk to women about a lot locally is that the party is not some outside of you monolithic decision maker with a structure. On the local level, the party is you, and all that you have to do is show up. And there might be older people than you or folks that have been in that party for longer that aren't very excited about new people showing up and being energized and wanting to get involved. But we really do have to show up and be brave and claim our space. We are part of this. And, you know, whether or not you meet resistance, it's very much important to show up, not just for yourself as a leader, but to show up for your community as a leader. There are some of us that have skills that others don't. And if we've got the skills and the intestinal fortitude, we have to show up.
But it's also important to show up as who you are, right? Like it's truly authentically who you are. If you're a single mom and you're bringing your kid to the meeting, that's who you are, and that's okay. And don't apologize for it, you know, or whatever the situation is, instead of this tired old practice of trying to pretend that we are men. I mean, or trying to act like men. It's just, we've got to do away with that. I mean, it's just, we're done with that.
And I think that's where you're seeing all of the success of far left progressive women and other women that are unexpected winning races this year, is that people are learning quickly that being 100% yourself and sincere and authentic and claiming that space wins. People respond to that kind of sincerity and authenticity. And we also create paths for other women along the way. We discovered really quickly that it's important as mothers, for instance, that are running, to stand up and create a campaign that welcomes people's children, not just your own, but anyone else that might want to volunteer, and create infrastructure for single mothers who don't have as many family or childcare resources or partners to have the childcare that they need to be able to run. So while we're in the business of claiming our space and starting to build these power structures of our own, we are not only authentically being ourselves, but making sure that we're making room for everyone else that needs to be able to show up and do the work and be who they are.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. Well, Kristin, we're moving into the segment called Superpowers for Success, and I want to ask you a few quick questions, kind of a lightning round of questions here that really helps give insight for listeners to really understand who you are, and also allows you to give some tips and advice and things that you've done and learned along the way that can help other women. So the first question is, what does success in life mean for you?
Oh, success in life for me really is about service. It's part of my spiritual beliefs, as well as part of who I think I am intellectually, and who my family is. So a fulfilling and successful life for me is fully predicated on having been of service to the people in my life and my community.
Mm. Okay. And when did you know you were really good at what you do? I think it wasn't until last year when I began having to do a lot of public speaking events
and came to realize that I had not just a skill at speaking to and reaching people, but a way of listening to people that really draws out the essence of what someone needs or wants or needs to be heard. So I have a skill in communicating with people that really seems to facilitate people opening up and helping me to help them.
Nice. Okay. And describe a personal habit that you have that contributes to your well-being.
Meditation, hands down.
Oh, okay.
If I had not had a years-long practice of meditation, I'm really not sure how I would be surviving this year.
Yeah, I remember, way back when we knew each other at the university, you had a meditation practice. So this has been a long time. And what does your meditation practice consist of?
So for me, I came up in a Zendo and sort of a tradition, a lineage of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, that is built around social justice and being of service in the world, and really specifically around using your life to serve. So I think that for me, a lot of my practice is in the world. It's not high on a mountain on a cushion in a Zendo. It is on the train on the way to work. It is in the midst of my work. It is while I'm listening compassionately to other people. It is sometimes off in a room in a noisy house, and sometimes in a restroom stall. Those are the places that I'm practicing.
Yeah. Okay. And Kristin, what superpower did you discover you had only to realize it was there all the time? I think you mentioned it earlier, actually.
Yeah, that is really hard. I think that I have a way of bringing people into an effort like this in a supported way that allows them to grow and expand.
Yeah, sort of what you mentioned earlier about sort of your ability to inspire people by not only speaking to them, but listening to them.
Yeah. And that exercise is a joy for me. It's a relationship where I think, both people that are engaged in that benefit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what advice would you give your younger self, say 25, 30-year-old self?
I would have encouraged her to finish her education sooner, although I would not have wanted that to cost me the opportunity of having you in my life as a mentor. That was transformative and changed my life. So I thank you for that. I would not have ever wanted to miss out on that. But my education is an asset that lifted my family out of poverty. And as I went back to school as an adult and completed my undergraduate and then subsequently went after a master's, all of that process really increased the ways that I was able to create a better life for my family and make sure that my daughters had the things that they needed and that we were providing for ourselves with a retirement. And in a way that I wasn't able to before that. So my younger self, I would encourage her to be serious about her education.
Okay. And Kristin, do you identify as a feminist?
I do. I am a staunch radical feminist.
Okay. What does that mean to you? Just very briefly, how do you define that?
It means that I, much like your approach to health policy, I am viewing almost everything through the lens of what does this mean in my experience as a woman? What does this mean for other women? How can we support other women? Does this advance and encourage other women? And it means things like making sure that the paid opportunities in my campaign are for women and LGBTQ people and people of color, making sure that we are walking the talk and creating opportunity for other women while we are rising and building. So I think that I prefer the company of women and work really hard to lift up women in a way that's, to some people, radical, not really to me, but people, I think people think that that's radical.
I love it when people try to insult you by saying that you're a radical feminist. Not you, but anybody.
Yeah.
That's a derogatory term, and actually it sounds like you're embracing that term.
Absolutely. I couldn't be happier than to be a radical feminist. I love to be in the company of other radical feminists.
Okay. What is your greatest challenge right now as a leader?
Taking care of myself, to the surprise of no one. Getting enough sleep, prioritizing getting enough exercise, eating well. All of that is really, really compromised because I work full time while I am running this campaign and also serving in an elected position. So my time is really, really limited for anything that resembles self-care. And so it's very difficult for me right now to build the protection I need sometimes around adequate sleep or time to walk in the woods or enjoy myself. Right now, I'm giving a lot of myself to this effort.
Yes. Well, that is a really good thing to notice and to know that that's your challenge, because that's obviously the first step to, doing something about it. Do you feel like you're adequately meeting that challenge, or do you still feel like this could be something that's like really might be in the danger zone?
It's a daily struggle. I wear a Fitbit to try to be really conscious of how much sleep I am and am not getting. And I'm a data nerd. I love data. So I want to, know qualitatively and quantitatively what is happening to my sleep. And that does help me to do things like, carve out a Saturday that I can sleep in late and try to catch up on some sleep, or, noticing is the canvas enough exercise, or do I need to get more exercise in a day? All sorts of things like that. So I am trying to at least create an awareness and to be honest with myself about what's happening. And sometimes I've got the ability to create the space for that self-care. And some days I just don't succeed.
Yeah. It's a give and take, pull and I have developed a framework for looking at our lives and our challenges, and I would be so interested to know where you are in the Well Woman life cycle. I can kind of guess, but there are basically 4 stages, and if we don't take care of ourselves and really address those things that you just brought up, we can tend to go into burnout, which is one of the stages. And so it would be very cool if you're up for this,
yes,
for you to do the Well Woman life cycle questionnaire thing. It's really easy and quick, but
I would love to.
Yeah, do it online and then share your results in our Well Woman group when your interview airs, and we can kind of have a conversation with you when this goes live. That would be so cool.
That would be amazing. I would love to engage the Well Woman community in that way. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll send you the link and you can do it, and then we'll pull you in at the right time. Okay. Last question real quick. What are you reading right now, Kristin? What's on your nightstand?
Oh, you really don't want to know. It's literally, it's a lot of policy. Unfortunately, I'll tell you what, there are books that are neglected that I wish I was reading on my nightstand. So the one that I am only partway into that I wish I was reading is Sing Unburied Sing. I'm only 2 chapters in. It's Jessamine Ward, and it's beautiful and amazing and makes me breathe differently when I read it. And I love it so much, but mostly I'm reading policy.
That's funny. And so it's called Sing
Unburied Sing.
Okay. Sing Unburied Sing. All right. We're going to link to that in the show notes. We have this incredible list of books that our guests give us. And so I'm going to add that to the list. And it's so funny, when I was helping women run for office way back in the day, when I started in politics, I I want to say like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. The thing that women said more often than not was, I need to read more. I need to read more of the issues. I need to read more policy. I need to know more information. I need more facts. And these were like super smart women who, hands down knew more than any of their opponents already, but they were so wanting to make sure, because I think as women, we have to prove ourselves more and, more than men who are, it's taken for granted that they know what the issues are. And so that's interesting that you're reading a lot of policy.
It's true. And it's been something that really gave me an advantage in this race, because the person that I was running against in the Democratic primary was just really out of his depth where these things are concerned. And it was a way that I was able to demonstrate over and over again publicly that I actually had the qualifications for the job. So the closer that I get to November, the more I'm going to be looking at, what do I want to do when I get there?
Yeah. And not forgetting to really pull in all the different parts of yourself and not feel like you have to be the expert on every single policy issue. Although I know that would be hard for you.
It's true. But, I will look for more time for pleasure reading at least.
Well, Kristin, it's been such fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Any time with you is precious, and I'm so happy we got a chance to talk.
That's it for our show today. Remember, if you need support to live your Well Woman life, head over to wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join us. Our monthly live event, Well Woman Drinks, brings women together to share our successes and challenges as women, leaders, moms, aunts, sisters, and all the other roles we carry. If you'd like to attend a Well Woman Drinks near you, or if there isn't one in your city yet and you'd like to start one, email info@wellwomanlife.com. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment and subscribe in iTunes and leave a review. This helps raise visibility, which is super helpful when it comes to producing the show every week. For feedback, comments, or just to let me know you were listening today, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @WellWomanLife. I'm Giovanna Rossi for The Well Woman Show. Until next time, have a super powerful week.